and welcome to the news. I am Sajo Brito. Coming up this evening, President Barrow lays foundation stone for road linking several villages in CRR, and of course judiciary staff commence a sit-down strike today. But first we'll begin with the newspapers. Also I'll be joined by our guest Pasamba Jau later on the show to discuss some of the recent happenings in the country. Let's take a look at what the newspapers are saying. The Standard newspaper is reporting that lawyer tells Gambia Armed Forces to reinstate Omar Sajo or face the law. And Tamba, Peter Singate, part of Ndur Cham coup, and lawmakers who refuse to approve funding for road projects don't want Gambia's project, President Barrow said during the laying of the foundation stone in CRR. GDC Jimara Nam denies joining President Barrow's National People's Party, and of course government clarifies proposed a dialogue process on draft constitution. Let's take a look at some of these stories in detail. Lawyer tells Gambia Armed Forces to reinstate Omar Sajo or face court. The lawyer representing the embattled Army Corporal Omar Sajo has written to the Gambia Armed Forces demanding his immediate reinstatement. A GAF statement issued on November 2nd claimed that Corporal Sajo was dismissed in 2017 for enlisting into the army under false pretense and not based on a widely held belief that he is the son of MFDC leader Salif Sajo. But Corporal Sajo's lawyer, Bubakar A.M.O. Baji, has written to the army asking for his client to be reinstated as soon as possible. Tamba Peter Singate, part of Ndur Cham coup, said Major Kamara. Major Wasa Kamara, one of the soldiers imprisoned for attempting a coup in 2006, has alleged that former Army Chief Lantombong Tamba was initially part of the coup but pulled out after he had a difference in choice with Ndur Cham over who should be the president if the coup succeeded. Major Kamara said Ndur Cham had confessed to him that he wanted a civilian-led government while soldiers go back to the barracks, but Tamba wanted the soldiers to take center stage and rule, which led to their differences. Major Kamara further alleged that Peter Singate was also part of the plot, but he too fell out with Ndur Cham over the choice of a civilian leader. Lawmakers who refuse to approve funding for road projects don't want Gambia's progress, says President Adama Barrow. President Adama Barrow, who was busy laying foundations in Lower Salum and Basse over the weekend, has accused some National Assembly members of deliberately attempting to frustrate his development agenda by voting against the funding of some of the road projects. The Gambian leader was speaking at the laying of the foundation stone for the construction of the 86-kilometer North Bank Rural Road project at Ngain Sanjal. There were some National Assembly members who refused to vote for the funding of these roads. If I tell you that there were lawmakers who rejected it, you should know them. They are the ones who don't want my progress and the progress of this country, but lawmakers who love the Gambia and its progress and my progress supported the funding, and I am saying thank you to all of them, Barrow said. GDC Jimara Nam denies joining President Adama Barrow's National People's Party. The opposition Gambia Democratic Congress National Assembly member for Jimara constituency has denied rumors linking him with a move to President Adama Barrow's National People's Party. In the last few days, the Standard received tips from sources that Alaji Sow is very much close to breaking camps with his GDC for a move to NPP, as two of his colleagues in the party have done. GDC will very soon be left with only one National Assembly member. We are tearing the party into pieces step by step, a close associate of the NPP told the Standard newspaper. But in an exclusive Standard interview yesterday, Alaji Sow refuted the claims, arguing he is still with the Gambia Democratic Congress. Government clarifies proposed a dialogue process on draft constitution. The Ministry of Justice wishes to clarify to the public that while it is in the process of initiating dialogue with leaders of political parties in the Gambia, political leaders are yet to be notified. During his speech before the 67th Ordinary Session of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, the Honorable Justice Minister Dawda Jallow announced that a process of dialogue with the leadership of all political parties has been initiated with a view to building consensus on all the contentious issues and resubmitting the 2020 draft constitution to the National Assembly of the Gambia. The message was meant to communicate that a process of dialogue with the leadership of political parties was about to begin, and not to mean that the party leaders were already contacted by the ministry. GPU slams Pura for threats against press freedom. The Gambia Press Union has warned telecommunications regulatory body Pura against using its regulatory weight to oppress freedom of expression in the country. Pura last week released its final note of caution, warning radio stations against spreading abusive and uncouth language. It warned of consequences if the practice continued, but the union said the statement was a clear threat to freedom of expression in the Gambia. Man charged with indecent assault of 9-year-old girl. One Samba Chun, who was arrested in Sukutanema last week for allegedly sexually attacking a 9-year-old, was yesterday arraigned before the Bundung Magistrates Court, charged with indecent assault. Mr. Chun, who is from Kaur, was slammed with single count of indecent assault, and he has refused all the charges, pleading not guilty. Banyaka Alcalo dispute with villagers referred to the Ministry of Lands. The Chief of Kombo South, Lamin Dabo, has said that any decision on the petition against the Alcalo of Banyaka by the villagers would be made by the Ministry of Lands and Local Government. Many natives, including elders of Banyaka in Kombo South, demanded the resignation of Alcalo Lamin I Kamara, who was appointed in 2015. A petition signed by the elders and copied to relevant ministries, including the Ministry of Lands and other departments, quoted village elders as saying that they are unhappy with the Alcalo system of administration, which they said is breeding instability and dividing the people of the village. That's it for the Standard newspaper. Let's take a look at what the Point is saying. The Point newspaper is reporting that hunter kills a man as he mistakes him for bush pig. Let's take a look at that story. Tragedy struck the community of Banyaka in the Sami district of the Central River region, CRR North, when Ibrahima Conte, a hunter, is reported to have mistakenly shot one Aliu Kamara, a man he mistook for a bush pig, resulting in the latter's death. The Point has been reliably informed. The suspect, Ibrahima Conte, is currently detained by police as investigation into the matter continues. That's it for the newspapers. Let's go for a break. I'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. And now President Barrow on Monday laid the foundation stone for the Lot 2 Salem Roads, Nyanija and Nyani as a part of the North Bank Rural Roads project. Jaka Sise Jaita tells us more.
Monday marks a historical and exciting day for the people of Upper Salem Chairman in CRR as His Excellency Adama Barrow laid the foundation stone of a 30 kilometers road. The construction is one that is highly anticipated for, as people from the region have been struggling for years due to bad road network. The road links Kerjibi to Chami Nyanija, Buduk and Nyanga Bantang. The event was attended by officials from the National Assembly, chiefs from the region, and as well as the Minister of Tourism and Culture.
Gambia fu tollu ni Gambia tollu ni bu ñu neexee wax ne ñu ngi transformation transformation mooy lan foo nekkoon nga gis ci yokkute parce que fii courant amul fi woon yoon problème la ndox problème la Adama Barrow ñëw mu ne damay defar national development plan mu boole réew mi yëpp def ko ci loxo te buñ fàtte o pasalo fii président SN passé Adama Barrow gañul fii de bu leen fàtte loolu waaye xoolul loolu mu ñëw di ñu jàppale kon war nañu ngor doomu Adama
en yetti Allah sante len Yalla golle badama mo ne liggéey am na bino mun mi ko mbaddon dum mo ne lim leen waxoon ngeen def ko mi yetti hen Allah mo ne sante na si Yalla no gande min ne ko kaldude ko e président Barrow mo ne xam ngeen ne moom tamit li wax président Barrow timmini aadi mo ne président Barrow tamit moom tamit timmini aadi bi kala ko o wino men lépp lu ñu waxoon kala ko o digno men lu ñu digoon mo e mu si ɓen noon ko tori monmi wona ko limlanna yo en ndentu en fof nen bokka ñu ñëpp wonen kaddu ko wotto ñu nokka benn kaddu ndenten liggéey gotto ñu nokka benn liggéey ballen yimɓe men ballen koye meɗen ñu dimbale suñu boppa ballen Adama Barrow ñu dimbale Adama Barrow mi ganduɗa noon ko jambita goɗo no heewi mo ne tekkana liñ fi tawa jobbanina oɗon gande wonde no kala ko jiɗɗon hen mo ne xam ngeen ne lépp lu ngeen fi dugg président Barrow waɗa ɗum waaga xam ne président Barrow wax ci dakkiren waay ga gorka hande wala yon bi tay ga wona beydare mawde e meɗen den non nekka yokkude police ni roni en udditi feeri kawro mona tawa ubbinan feeri kawrde yimɓe na immora kolda joni ɓe gara luumo kawru mona nit ñi ɓe jogue kolda ñaw luumo kawru luumo kawro ɓuuri mawɗo sababu o feeri gonɗo mona yo luumo kawru ɓe gennandore sababu feeri bumba fi nekka fi min yettini ñaminannaɓe no feewi mona jogue sante wa ñamina bu baax yimɓe Saloum oyi mune wa Saloum ñaani e ñaani ja ñaani ak ñaani ja e mbiɓe beltima mune ko nuya ngeen kontaan ngeen ko si on beltima ko minen ɓuri on welta mune yen su ngeen kontaan e ñun ñoo leen gën a kontaan ɓayni gila men mbaɗanno campagne mune kon si fu leen def campagne men mbanno on promission de on gollaɗi laabi min mbadde ko dañ leen promis dana leen liggéey yoon hande so ɗum ɗon timmi mune boobu ɗuma tey tey ngan noon wolde on men beltima mune ngeen kam ne ñoom kontaan nañ fi miɗo siwtini mawɗo am goto mone mu nge ley mu nge wax benn magam mu nge fasal ko benn magam miɗen jooɗi miɗen kacca mone suñ toogee di waxtaan siko weeli ɗi ara mone lu lee kuy ñëw o wiya kam si toɓaniro waɗa hendu mone su mone ko su tawuda dina am ngelaw hande noon mone tey nag hay si toɓani kono waɗa hendu mone tey nag su taw sa am na ngelaw ngam noon wondema mone ngeen xam ne minen men ngala liggéey fof ko gollande on tan kono woni yone amul ben liggéey boo xam ne amul ko budul liggéeyal leen leydi ndi wawta yaade yeeso si en keɓani laa mu ne lewdi du mun a def si kanam dut nala amuñu yoon e balɗe noon ko wallingol kaaƴe men mu ne yoo fandi nag teral ay hermo min puɗɗino hakalan mu ne commencé won nañ hakalan min ngari sono de sari kaw ngeen saña mais ni min hakalan min ngari ngeen saña min ngari kawru min ngi doon kawul hande minen Kerjibi tey ñuy Kerjibi ngam noon wondema ñu xam leen ne min ballini kaaje de def nañ heeri kono men gartan ɗo kadi wona ɗa men fi ñëwaat ta lawol ngol pari fekk yoon bi pare na men garta ɗo kadi mbiyaɗo mitin mawɗo kadi ñu defaat fi mitin bu mag ubbi yoon inchallah yimɓe anda ɗo hande mu ne soo seetee ñu fi ñëw tey anda wondema Saloum e ñaani dia mu ne xam na ne Saloum ak ñaani dia e ñaani ak ñaani e saama e saame e beltima e ɗeɗo liggéey kontaan na si liggéey bi kono waɗi ɓe belti lu tax ñu kontaan ila Gambia dari bu Gambia amee ba tey laaɓi gollaaka yooni liggéeyuñ ko kono kila président Barrow e laamu mum le président Barrow an nguuran nganduno wondema golle
Watanbe, brought to you by AfriCell.
Be part of the amazing conversations with Gambia's greatest minds and personalities. Get ready to be entertained, inspired, and motivated on the Watanbe platform. Plus, stand a chance of winning the shopping of your life. Call or SMS 1010 for $3 is only to win cash prizes and a free shopping spree.
Join Watanbe live on GRTS and social media on Mondays and Fridays at 9 p.m. Kalim New Watan.
Where AfriCell goes, nobody dares to follow.
Welcome back. Meanwhile, judicial officials of the High Court of the Gambia embarked on a nationwide sit-down strike. As our reporter Matisengo reports, they are demanding for better working conditions, incentives, risk allowance, and salary increment. More in this report.
Judicial officials of the High Court of the Gambia embarked on a nationwide sit-down strike following the failed agreement between management and the staff, demanding for better working conditions, risk allowance, trainings and increment in salaries. They added that nothing is going to stop them from exercising their constitutional guaranteed right to a peaceful sit-down strike.
Actually, the reason why we are here today, we had concerns, and these are concerns that is in regards to our work. This is something that has been going on since last year, July 2009. We have had a series of meetings with the management of the judiciary, but to no success. One of our concerns is that increment of allowances, such as the responsibility allowance, risk allowance, and we want the increment of the allowances to 100%. And we are made to understand that for the risk allowance, there is just few people who are benefiting from the risk allowances, and we want all the staff to benefit from it. And as you know, daily paid, I can say it is even abolished in the Gambia. It is only judiciary, which is one of the institutions that is still enforcing it. So we want the daily paid to be abolished completely. We don't want it in the system, and we want 100% increment of responsibility allowance and risk allowance also. For the risk allowance, we have made a proposal and we have come up with figures, and we have presented this to the management of the judiciary for them to consider it. But since we have submitted it, our demands were not met. Rather, they came up with their own figures, which they did not, consult the general staff. So as a result of that, we have also decided to go on a sit-down strike, because we feel that we are very important in the day-to-day running of the judiciary. And we felt that judiciary is a very important institution in every country. We are the third arm of the government, and there cannot be nothing without law and order. And we also play a very vital role in the dispensation of justice. So if the people that are, contributing in the dispensation of justice, and we felt that we are not being given our justice, then we'll be very disappointed. So that is why we are also embarking on this strike, sit-down strike. And the whole of this year, since January, the general staff, none of us had a training. This is also one of our concerns. We want to be getting trainings, so that we can improve on our works. Yes, this is some of the things that we are complaining. And special incentive also, and the areas, we want them all to be paid. And another thing also, we want staff boss, because judiciary staff struggle. They struggle a lot to come to work, and we also find it very difficult to get to home. So these are some of our concerns. This is something we table, with the management of the judiciary, but we have been going back and forth and nothing has come to fruition. So we decided that now we are left with no other avenue but to go down but to go on a sit-down strike so that the whole Gambia and the whole world can know that this is our concern. And we are not relenting in our efforts until our demands are fully met. This is all I have to say. Yes.
Ngadoko started in 1987, at the time of the First Republic, Jawara's time. We are here in 1987 up till to date. But the because of in working condition is very poor, we the support staffs. Near GB the senior staffs, it will come in receive monthly, and the support staff, there is a huge gap in between. Because if you check, most of the judges are receiving more than 100,000 a month, while the majority of the staff are receiving less than $5,000 a month. Though $3,000. Because even our last meeting, the CJ was saying that ko atifanka jakal lintul kap survive no nyadele with our family with our this little salary of $3,000. So ni worketa just this few months ago, ngaje ko judge soul and senior staff soul yela allowance soul la fale. To 100 is even more than 100%. Because Dolby now they are receiving $30,000 magistrate soul. Many Yalonko they were receiving $7,000. Judges are receiving $150,000, $175,000, $200,000 to $300,000. Even their fuel coupons, they are receiving $15,000, $17,000, $30,000. And the majority of the staffs are receiving less than $5,000 a day. And the living condition now is very high. You cannot, that cannot sustain you. So you can't get judicial staff. From work, Janibe Sela Sokono, he came here the place of Puntieta de Paso, Janibe Putalela Sokono. Because the Paso is not an excuse. Every day, Babondilan. So, Nita Jita, Janibe Jile, if we Putalela Sokono, Ekata town, Nepoloyeta de Paso. So, call Koliatale. Thanks God, na New JS Sotole Mia Lonko, I left a mole Makwela. Davina Dingala could appreciate Biranata changes Jamal Leke. I plan Jamal de Soto pour motivate, Kadol promote. But all man can follow. Ataman support Soto. Nakote Ikaite, Nakote Ikaite. This is the thing. So Scientol Communist strike go along, we want a better working condition. Not only the allowances, but let them look into our salaries too. Because the margin is so high. You cannot compare it. $200,000 to $5,000. So this is our problem. Manna Sonkala, Nte Nendirikela, we are judicial officers. What is expected of us? Mbewe Kelali. But definitely left alone the authority soul. Ya long ko nyinde tama kan judiciary. Yes. Let them sit with the management, ya discuss. At least yentol fana mako we are family. Men and women. Ila motoli jive. Each of one of them near check ila motol is $2.6 million. You come in drive. Ntol a single staff boss. Another man sort of job.
One of the officials added that they do not have staff bosses, which is resulting to many of them encountering problems on their way home. Some people had accidents and some are even beaten.
And bepare soko sete sa nigliñ amul boss transportation daf de metti torop lima wax rek ñu bari ñi amé nañ ci jëkkar ci utam liif bi ñi amé ci accident somebody like me wow ñi door nañ leen ci xam nga di nga génn tasee litigan goo xam ne mu ngi fone yaa tiye kiisam mu mere la ut la ay dóor la yooyu yëpp a ngi si waaw moo tax na tey ñu ne xaaral ñu toog ñu nit tiye suñ loxo kenn saagut kenn dóorewut.
Drivers also have this to say.
As a grade 2, depuis 2003, ñu ngi fii nii mos ñoo passé grade 1 grade 2 te am na suma morom yoo xam ne ñu ngi fi nekk ay over 10 years ba tey si grade 1 leen def ñun driver si suñu sare sax eggu 2000 suñu bés sare sax eggu $2000 billahi wallahi tallahi te gis nga ñun benn alawas ñun doxuñu dara fu ñoo noppale ko sax ñun amuñ ko bu taw suñu moto yi la ñoo dugg bu naaj bi tàngee suñu moto yi la ñoo dugg ñun amuñ sax fu ñu jox sax place fu ñu xam ne bu ñu ñëwee mun a teg suñu boos yi mun a am fu ñu toog noppale ko xaar suñu boos yi bu ñu génnee ñu mun a dem amuñ ko ñun amuñ office ñun ñu ngi nii rek si ngelaw li understand nga soo ñun dëgg fajar fay fa kolo buy noddee ñun draay fas yi ñun ñëpp jog neen di préparer pour jëlee suñu boos yi ak fu ñu mënta dëkka te ñun fu ñu dëkk ak fu ñu dëkka ay mile ngay dox waxuma la kilomètre ay mile leen dox dem jëli leen understand nga soo waaye ñun considéré wuñu draay fas yi si moom si dara loo sari si fii si Gambia si juuti seri bi ñun draay fas yi la te ñoo si gën a sonna ñëpp daneen tëdd di nelaw ñun draay fas yi duñ nelaw dineen wàcc dem tëdd seen kër yi ñu driver fas duñu wàcc ñi ngi dox seen service du benn allowance boo xam ne defaral leen ñu ko du risque allowance du amul dara loo xam ne defal leen ñu ko ñun driver fas suñ bési sare ñenn ñi sax egguñ sax $1000 si leen seen bési sare billahi wallahi ñenn seen sare bési sare sax $1000 si leen ñun ñi nga xam ne sa ace si ñoo driver ñun sax egguñ $2000 ay 1900 ay something yooyu leen fee am how many years mi ngi fi nekk amul benn yokkute.
They noted that most of the judges receive more than 100,000 monthly, while they are struggling to make ends meet. The staff said they are not resuming unless their demands are met. Reporting for News Review, I am Senghor.
TAF Africa Global presents the new Tulip Gardens. TAF Tulip Gardens is set to comprise service plots in sizes ranging from 220 to 570 meters square. Deposit as low as $83,600 is only an 18-month interest-free payment plan with only 20% deposit on the service plots. Please contact 376-2333 or 776-2333.
Welcome back, and now I am joined by our special guest on News Review today, Coach Pasamba Jaw. Coach, welcome to the Fata Network News Review. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you very much for having me again.
It's an honor. It seems like another day in... they're regulating everything, but the GSM companies ripping the poor Gambians off. Now, PIRA has issued a stern warning to radio stations against using what they describe as abusive and uncouth language. What does this mean to you and freedom of the press in the Gambia?
Well, I think this is a very serious matter, and I must first commend the GPU for coming out and condemning this deliberate attempt to stifle freedom of expression and opinion. To just issue a blanket statement that you're going to close down radio stations because people call or use foul languages, to me, is not enough. And I think Gambians must be very careful here in that any government, anywhere in the world, if they have it their way, they will do whatever it takes to stifle dissent. And I want to believe that if these radio stations, maybe the people that we are calling, if they were in support of the current administration, you will not hear anything like this. But this is not new. They've been trying incrementally to do this. We heard when they tried to bring the insult law before the National Assembly, that bill, which was criticized, condemned by most Gambians, leading them to withdraw it. So any attempt that they have to stifle freedom of expression and opinion, they would do it, because most people, especially most governments, are not comfortable when their citizens are very outspoken in criticizing them. So I want to urge all Gambians.
government are usually not very open to media, like you said, and they're not very comfortable when their citizens are very much opinionated and given the platform. But do you think that this body was pressured into issuing this statement?
Well, unfortunately, in our governance system, one cannot claim that there is total independence of any institution that is under the central government from control of the executive. So I will go on a limb here and want to believe that Twitter is not acting on its own. They were pushed to this. But we as citizens must make it known to anybody in authority that we will not sit around and allow a return to what we fought so hard to get rid of. I agree. Nobody should be going to a radio station insulting anybody. But what are the mechanisms in place? In the United States, for example, here, what they do, they have the 5 minutes, 5-second delay or whatever. Calls do not go directly unfiltered to the host. It goes through a process. But even here, sometimes somebody would insult, they would bleep it. But you cannot go and just threaten to shut down a radio station because somebody calls from anywhere and insults somebody. It's not the host that is insulting. It's not the owner of the radio station that is insulting. It's a private citizen who wants to use such a language and do it. And I don't believe that it is so rampant in that country that it has become a problem. What I want to appeal to President Barrow. No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Now, what I wanted to appeal to President, I said about that. Oh, people say that I am soft, but I like that because I am soft. As long as there is democracy in this country, I'll soft. But all I want to appeal to President Barrow is there may be people who will come to you and will be selling this danga soft. You know, Mr. President, you're too soft. Mr. President, you have to toughen up. Mr. President, these people, if you allow them to do this thing, they would say whatever. Don't fall for it, President Barrow. There is nothing better than leaving a legacy of a very tolerant president. If there is a reason why people are celebrating Jawara, it's because of the level of tolerance that he manifested when he ruled. People said the craziest things to him, but he knew that as a leader, it comes with some of these things. But he ignored them. Today, he is celebrated for being democratic. So, Mr. President, don't fall for it. Because believe me, it will not be pretty, and Gambians will not fall for anybody abrogating our rights anymore.
One issue with a Pira statement is that they have not been very specific to the radio stations or radio station involved in, spreading false information, uncouth or, abusive language as they describe. And I think even the GPU paper showed that they should have been more specific so that the particular radio station could take internal actions. What do you think? Rather than just generalizing everything.
If there is one problem that is constant about this government, is their communication or lack of it. This is why every time a press statement is made, it will be followed by another press statement to clarify the previous press statement. And I would not be surprised if you very soon you will see another statement coming out trying to clarify the previous statement. All I want to say to Pura again and the president and everybody listening, do not try it. Okay? If you can find a way of helping this radio station to be able to filter these calls, do it. But this threat of closing down radio stations, that is very that sounds very much like what we used to hear just about 8 years or 7 years ago. We are not going down that lane again, please.
And now to the draft budget, Coach. As you can see, the figures are flying all over the place. But I'm not going to push you to that lane. We will leave that for the economists to do. In a time like this, what is your expectation of the National Assembly of the Gambia?
Well, the budget is called a draft for a reason. Because the executive will draft a budget, send it to the National Assembly, and it becomes the responsibility of the National Assembly to pass the budget. It originated from the executive, but then it becomes a collective responsibility when the National Assembly passes it. What I expect from the National Assembly is that they would pass a budget that would be able to address the basic needs and aspirations of the Gambian people. We cannot continue to have this copy and paste budgetary system. If you look at our budgets for the past decades, they almost always look the same. And I think we have to be able to look at it thoroughly, and I hope the National Assembly will do that. You look at, for example, education, basic education. They've allocated about 2.8 billion. But if you look at the numbers, over 70% of it is for recurrent budget. And this is for salaries and all these other things. Just about 28% or so is for developmental. Then we have to also ask ourselves, will this be of benefit to the Gambian people? How do we just build budgets that is just to spend and spend and spend and not to develop and develop and develop? Agriculture, the same thing. The problem we have is we've been throwing money at issues. I think it is high time for the National Assembly to sit and look at this budget and have a knife, a very sharp knife, and cut where cut is supposed to be, so that they will give the Gambia the future, at least a very great future for them, because we cannot continue to just spend and take loans. If you look at it, there are two. The budgets have two. They come into. There is one that is 22 billion, and that is supposed to be from whatever the national, what we are supposed to generate from what do they call it, the taxes and all that. And then you also have another aspect that is supposed to come from loans, and the total budget expenditure would be about 35 billion. And if you do the numbers, almost about 13 billion of that will have to come from loans. How long do we have to continue to take these loans, and we are not putting them into the productive sectors of the economy so that they would benefit the people? Because what we are doing, we are failing the Gambia for the next 50 years if we continue to operate the way that it's been operating for the past 54 or 56 years. And I hope that, Sadio, that the National Assembly members, all of them, will look at this thing. They have a responsibility to act in the interest of the Gambian people. This is not a partisan issue. It is in the interest of all Gambians, irrespective of whichever party they support. If they fail to pass a budget that would stand the test of time, then we do not have Adama Barrow to blame. We have the entire National Assembly to blame for that.
Now, I know some other politicians are already sharing their voices regarding this draft budget. People like Mai Fatty have already said that this budget is actually total rubbish and in fact should be rejected outright. But before we get to that, human rights activist Madi Jobate has suggested that the National Assembly should in fact be drafting the budget and sending it back to the executive to implement accordingly. Is that something that you think could be a solution?
Well, that can be done, but if you look at it again, the National Assembly can do that, because the budget that is sent to them is not ironclad. It is a draft. So the National Assembly can look at it and say, you know what, we are reallocating funds here. We are moving the 600 million that is supposed to go to the president, 663 million, and we are taking 200 million and putting it to where, youth and sports is, because the youth and sports has about 113 million. Or agriculture this much, we are moving this much money from there. We are not financing this here. We are not financing. They can rewrite the whole thing. They have the powers to move it, because unless the National Assembly passes it, it is not law. And as long as it is not law, the budget is nothing but a draft. So yes, either or, but even here in the United States, the drafting of the budget, it would come, the executive would come with it, and then it would go to the House will look at it, and then the Senate would look at it. Before you know it, it has gone through all the three bodies again before they come to a consensus. That can happen. All that we are asking for is for the National Assembly to be vigilant, to do what is in the interest, general interest of all Gambians, and not just what is politically expedient. And unfortunately, we see what Barrow is doing. He's become very politically savvy in saying that anybody who does not support his projects to build roads is not interested in development. So if you have a politician who is thinking about what is popular, they may quickly go and do what Barrow wants. But what we are asking for politicians or National Assembly members who are guided by what is clearly stated in section 112 of the constitution, that is, they will be guided by their conscience and do what is right by the Gambian people, that they should look at the budget and give to the Gambian people what the Gambian people deserve and not what Barrow wants to happen.
Now let's talk about the allegations and everything that comes with this budget, because Mai Fatty is very outspoken about this budget, and today he has released a statement saying that if government is going to spend 400 million in agriculture, an important sector in the economy of the Gambia, and then put aside $2 billion for government pet projects, he's accusing the government of making this budget actually custom-made to fit their 2021 presidential campaign. How do you see that?
Well, to tell you the truth, I have been looking at the budget, and you see, it's a repeat. Because last year, what they were looking for, actually they are spending a lot less money this time around than they did last year. And I am thinking maybe it's a typo, because if you look at what was passed last year for agriculture, it was 2.5 billion for agriculture. How do you go from 2.5 billion for agriculture in 2019 or 2020, sorry, to 400 million for 2021? I think there is what I want to believe is, and I know the minister will have to clarify this when they go to the National Assembly. I'm thinking that the amount that is just below, because works and transportation 1.9 billion, that doesn't make sense. Unless they think that they are building roads all over the country. It doesn't make sense. You cannot do that. You cannot reduce the president's budget by about 80 million and then reduce agriculture by over 2 billion. This is not going to stand. It's nothing. And then even you go further, you look at centralized services. What is centralized services? What do they do? You are allocating about 1.99 billion to agriculture, to centralized services, and telling us agriculture, which is supposed to be the backbone of our economy, the hardest working people in our country, the people who are making it possible for us to in fact survive, even though they are the poorest. I think it is an insult to everybody, and I just want to hope, open hope, that this is a typographical error and not, because that would be the biggest insult to our people and our country. And I hope this is going to die on arrival if it is as it is. I don't see the National Assembly members passing a bill where only 400 million is allocated to agriculture and 1.9 billion to centralized services. It doesn't make sense.
Now, we have also seen government and the Minister of Justice in particular saying that they are about to bring back or to form some sort of committee to look at the draft constitution again. What do you make of that? Do you think that that ship has sailed already and we should let it go, or what do you think?
Well, he made that statement on our show. I think that was where he first said it, that they're going to look into reviving the draft or putting together a committee to look at it. But what Gambians need to ask themselves is this. The same executive that put together a CRC, the act, and it was passed by the National Assembly. The same executive that proposed and was approved that is going to spend 116 million for the draft to be written. The same executive that came back and said that they did not want the draft. They campaigned against the draft. They had meetings where they caucused with some of the people, give them talking point. They had some lawyers who were talking to them, telling them what to reject. And everything that they were rejecting had nothing to do with what was in the general interest of Gambians, not what the Christians' concerns were. No, they were not interested in that. All they were interested in is Barrow's term or the power that's going to be taken from the president. So if you reject that, what makes Gambians think that you are going to constitute another committee that was going to give us a constitution that is acceptable? What I believe here is Adama Barrow must have seen the backlash from the people in the country, because they did not even give it a chance. Because the government had an opportunity to have its supporters in the National Assembly, and those were the NRP supporters, the other 8 that left the UDP and joined them, and then one national nominated member. The APRC, they had a different reason for rejecting it. They could have given this thing a chance and say, you know what, we'll pass it for the first reading, so that it will go to the second reading. For that, there we can amend what we can amend, because they have the powers. Everything that goes to the National Assembly, it is a draft until it is passed. Then they can amend it. But to reject all that and then come around and tell us, you know what, I'm going to put a committee together, an independent committee, independent according to whose standards, so that we'll give this draft another chance. I'm skeptical. I'm thinking they are just playing political games, and I don't think there may be enough time for them to go through this whole process, have it passed, have it gazetted, and all these things, and then go through a referendum for the next, what do they call it, elections. I think this is a joke. It's a political gymnastics that they are trying to play, and I hope that they are genuinely the people, because they had enough opportunity to have done what they're doing now. If they had given this thing the opportunity to go to the second reading, where amendments could have been made, and then we can take it. If we had gone to a second amendment, to a second reading, and people rejected some of their proposals, they would have been on a firmer footing and said, listen, we gave this a chance, we went there, we said this was wrong, this had to be changed, they rejected it, conscience could not allow us to support it. That's what you do. But you killed the baby, you aborted the baby in the stomach, said that, you know what, it was not going to be done, you take it. When you didn't even give the baby the chance to even come out. Does it make sense?
Talking about political gymnastics, it seems like President Barrow's National People's Party is in shape as they won the Nyamina West by-elections. I know you haven't spoken about these elections since it happened. What do you make of it? It seems like they are going for 2021. What do you think?
Well, anybody who underestimates Barrow, I think is making a colossal mistake, because what we've seen during the Nyamina West by-elections, and I think is it Jimara Kirjarga ward, is the power of the incumbency being manifested. They did what they had to do. Unfortunately, some of the things that we were crying against when Jammeh was here, when the whole power of the incumbency was put in display, the executive fully involved, it's what repeated itself. But again, hey, we have no one to blame, because Barrow was giving this opportunity. If the coalition had stuck to the plan that was in place, respected the process of 3 years and leaving, we would not have had this problem. But again, Barrow is giving us what was handed to him, and he is just operating that way. So Barrow cannot be underestimated. He has really shown that he is going to use the political muscle that he has, the bully pulpit that is the executive, and everything to see himself through. And unfortunately, here we are. Was it not ironic to see Barrow just right where he was giving this speech at his victory celebration, or the new member, here is a new car I'm giving that person. We remember when we complain about the 56 cars that we're giving, people said, hey, leave us alone, and all these things. Today, what people did not want to criticize yesterday is what is catching up to us today. So, you know what, congratulations to Barrow and NPP and all the political parties. Better get ready for a big fight, because it ain't going to be easy. It's
2021 is not going to be easy. Thank you very much, Coach Pasamba Jau. It's always a pleasure having you on the Fatu Network News Review. Thank you very much for granting us your time.
Thank you so very much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much. News Review. Do join us tomorrow if you can. Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.